Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. Leading a team isn't easy and can feel impossible at times. Today we're talking to Travis Dalrymple, who is the leadership coach, speaker, and author of the new book, How to Suck as a Leader. I got to read this book. The top 15 mistakes leaders make and how to fix them. Thank you so much, Travis, for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So let's start with the title. It's kind of bold. What made you decide to take this approach and write the book?
That's a great question. So a couple of years ago, I was in charge of putting together a presentation for a group of small business owners. There was about 100 of them in the room. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to talk to them about leadership, but I didn't want to make it like a boring seminar. It's kind of hard to get folks excited about leadership.
Sure.
So I came up with the title, How to Suck as a Leader, because I thought it would get their attention a little bit more. And I started with all the things to not do and how to be a horrible leader. And I found that really engaged everyone in the audience. And I said, you know what? That's going to be a great title for this book.
That really is. What's the common misconception that you see about, what people leadership when it comes down to leadership and what it actually looks like?
When it comes to just folks gaining new leadership skills in general?
Yeah.
I really think that most people think that it's not very approachable or like it's some gigantic project, when it's more so about the habits that you have as a leader, a manager, an owner, whatever your title may be, and making small changes on a daily basis, as opposed to, I'm going to go to one seminar and my whole life's going to change. Right. It's not really how it works, in my opinion.
No, it doesn't. It'd be like, as one person said to me, it's like going to an NFL game and saying, well, I sat through this for 3.5 hours. Now I can go be a quarterback for an NFL game.
Correct. Same thing.
Same kind of feeling, right? So talk to me. What are some of the 15 mistakes leaders make?
Sure. So I'll give you kind of the top 3 out of the book, in my opinion. So the first one is just emotional reactivity from a leader themselves. Leaders that don't have emotional intelligence and just don't know how to manage that on any given level. They're very reactive. They snap at people, and they just haven't really mastered the art of learning how to listen, pause, and reflect.
Yeah.
Definitely number 1 on the list for a lot of people across the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that also leads to number 2, which is the ability to actively listen. A lot of leaders, owners, managers, they're more so just waiting for their turn to speak instead of really hearing what their team has to say.
That's right.
And taking that in, reflecting, and then coming up with a very productive and positive response. So those are certainly the 2 biggest ones that I see across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think leaders go into meetings thinking, this is my plan, nobody's going to change it, so while people are talking, I'm just discounting it and saying, just let's get through this until I can talk again?
Unfortunately, I do think that's the case, but I don't think it's something that's nefarious, so to speak. I think they just haven't really been taught a different way and aren't sure how to really open with collaboration, because the reality is that as a leader, I have a finite amount of ideas, but when it comes to the team that I'm leading, if I've got 10 people on my team, we've got 10x the ideas.
Right.
So it's about teaching folks how to really learn, listen, reflect, have collaboration without losing your authority at the same time. It's a very delicate balance.
That's right. There is something to the fact that as just a leader of a number of different businesses, where you solicit everybody's input and you solicit everyone's ideas, and they give them to you. And then they get mad because you didn't implement them.
Sure.
So what is a leader to do to solicit that input and that feedback and those ideas, and even at the end of the day, if they don't put them into action, to communicate that to the team effectively, to say, look, I love the feedback, I love everything that you gave me, but I'm still going in this direction?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really starts with how you frame the conversation when you open up the floor for everyone.
Right.
Because no one's going to open up the floor saying, tell me your ideas. By the way, I'm not going to use most of them and deal with it. That's not how that conversation.
Yeah, nobody's going to start like that, right?
Right. But it's much easier to say something like, we're going to open up the floor. I want to hear your ideas before I share mine, and realize that at the end of this, I am only going to be able to choose so many things. And some of those ideas might get pushed back to another quarter. It might be next year. We'll talk about that later. But once you set that frame, now everyone has the expectation that obviously we can't do what everybody wants to do. We can't do every single person's idea. So it's really all about how you frame that collaboration at the start.
That's right. You gave me the top two. What was the third one?
The third one, I jump around a little bit on this, but based on the feedback I've seen from the book itself, I really think it's people ignoring their own health and thinking that their body and their mind are not connected.
Okay, that's good. That's a good one. Yeah.
So a lot of the leaders that I've worked with, that I've seen, they know the value of a high quality night of sleep. They know the value of eating well, taking care of themselves, exercising, having healthy boundaries in their relationships, etc. When on the opposite end of that spectrum, the folks that are constantly stressed, losing their minds, don't treat their people well, they're usually not treating themselves well either.
Right.
So in my mind, if you can take care of your own health, the ability to actually lead people becomes significantly simpler and more effective. Doesn't mean it's always easier, but it's certainly more effective.
That's right. Which is a perfect segue to my next question, which is, as we know, burnout is real, right? How can leaders lead from, for the long haul, I should say, without losing their edge because of the fact that burnout is just a reality among business and certainly among leaders?
I think burnout really comes down to two things, and that's priorities and boundaries. So if you don't know how to set boundaries with yourself and your personal life or with your team and what you're working on, then yes, you most likely are going to burn out. And on top of that, if you're unsure of what your main priorities are and you try to work on everything instead of one thing, the same exact thing can happen. But if both of those things are occurring, then they certainly compound and make everything feel overwhelming at any given moment. So it's really a matter of focus, boundaries, and making sure you know exactly what your priorities actually are instead of what you want them to be.
Sure. Obviously, the book is designed for leadership in companies and entrepreneurs that are out there starting and leading their businesses. What's the one piece of advice that you'd like to leave our viewers with today?
Sure. It's probably the most quoted line from the book at the moment, and that is, what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah, good point. Very good
point. And that
point.
comes everything from your personal life, your work life, your family life, friendships, anything under the sun. You have to realize even the things that you're not happy about in your life, those are still an active decision to include them or exclude them.
Boy,
so what you're not changing, you're choosing.
I love it. No question about it. And what do you want the reader to leave with when they're finished with the book?
I want them to leave with a full action plan of what they can actually do to become a better leader. So at the end of every chapter, there's some action items. There's even a free workbook within the book that has even more action items, because the problem that I'm trying to solve with this book and the whole leadership toolkit series that I'm working on is making leadership accessible and available to everyone instead of behind a paywall, a seminar, just for executives. I just don't think that's fair for the world.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make sure that they finish this book and go, wow, there's tons of things that I can go do right now immediately and actually have a change in my life, instead of most leadership books being kind of vague or filled with theory, and they're like, what do I really do now? So that's the problem I'm trying to solve and the takeaway I want them to have.
That's great. That's fantastic. The book's name is How to Suck as a Leader, the top 15 mistakes leaders make and how to fix them, which I think is very important that I mentioned, because you don't want to be a sucky leader. That is for sure. And a number of the things in there I can attest to. We have probably all fallen into these situations and made these mistakes. But now there's a book out there that can help you navigate this. So Travis, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Very much appreciate it. Love to do a follow-up with you, because there's about 5 questions that time does not permit me to get to today. So thanks so much.
Yep, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.